I'm Scott Allen Miller. It's the 24th of July, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in León, Nicaragua, and we've got a storm coming in, and I've had an incredibly busy and exhausting week. We've had a lot of exciting stuff going on, not so much on the channel, although we've had a really good channel week as well, but just here in León, we've just been really busy, and I am burned out. I'm recording this on Sunday, and I had decided, or was pretty sure I was going to take the day off as best I can. That doesn't mean not making a video for you guys, just taking it easy, and was like, well, but I might go out and do some photography and like mix that in. And then this storm popped up early in the afternoon. No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay home. We're going to be talking about the Fediverse and why social media in this federated way is important for places like Nicaragua. We have it here in Nicaragua, but why that's a big deal going on right now, and why we're really interested in it and pushing it and talking about it a lot. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the concert we went to last night after going to Azul del Rio right after the bump. I'm doing a very upward angle today because I have this beautiful stormy sky going on, and I doubt you can hear it, but there's rumble of thunder in the background, so that's happening. So this is perfect for just getting a little bit of a different view of filming. It's actually the middle of the day. This is how dark it is. Sometimes I go back and I watch these episodes and I'm like, was it really that dark? I remember it being so bright when I record. No, it's actually quite dark. Like, I was in my office and I'm like, I think it's getting dark, and I think I hear something, and I stepped outside and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere today. I'm staying in. So here I am, and I'm doing the recording here. Last night, so yesterday I recorded the episode on Azul del Rio, the big festival, which is also going on today, unfortunately, given that it's going to rain and be thunder. That's going to hamper a lot of people out in the park. But people do go out in the rain here, partially because, remember, this is a warm place, and people do enjoy the rain a bit. We all kind of enjoy the break. So while I don't really want to go out and go to a festival in the rain, I'm also not, like everyone else, that opposed to it. As long as the rain doesn't come down that hard, you know, it's kind of nice. That's what a cool day is like here. We don't get cold days, so it's just something you put up with, and if people appreciate the change of pace a little bit. So it should be okay. Last night was the big event, though, and we did not have rain for it, so that was perfect. We did not go see Costa Azul at Azul del Rio, and it's just coincidental that their name is Costa Azul. They're just a huge band, and so they play at that festival as they did last year. There's no connection, to the best of my knowledge, between the Azuls in their name. So we were going out, though. Last night was the anniversary of the new location. So this is an older restaurant, not old, but an older restaurant called El Bodegón, and they have moved to a new location. And it's worth mentioning, I believe I have this etymology right. Bodegón is something like a small bodega, and bodega just means like storeroom or pantry or something like that, which makes sense in the context of a restaurant and venue. And the original one was absolutely tiny, so calling it the Bodegón, I believe, is similar to calling it a hole in the wall. And that's exactly what it was. It was basically the space between two buildings. You barely could fit into it. It was nuts how small it was. But we went to a concert there more than a year ago, obviously, probably really close to 2 years ago, and is one of the first places that we met bands that we really started getting into, like getting to know the bands and getting involved in bringing them in for events and stuff. So it's always been an important spot to us, and they always have good food. So that's worth just. Unrelated to anything else, if you're in León, Bodegón has good food. And if you're a vegetarian like me, it's worth noting that they have at least 2 items that I really, really like. They have a tostada, which I've never tried, but Dominica has had, and I think she likes it. It is raining on me right now, by the way. And when I started the video, I was only so confident that it was going to rain. So this came up quickly. But I get their veggie wrap, which is like a hummus wrap. It is excellent. I really like it. It's like hummus and cheese. And then they also have one or more vegetarian salads, but their signature salad, the El Bodegón, Ensalada El Bodegón, is amazing. It's like really good dressing, really good mix of veggies, and it's in one of those very American style fried tortilla bowls that are delicious. So I love that. I did not get that last night. I just got the wrap, but I kind of wish I got the salad too. But just so you know, they are famous for their food and famous for being a little hole in the wall. But they became a really well-known venue, which you would, having really good food, right? And they would get good bands. So they've expanded to this new space, which is still pretty small, but way bigger than it used to be. Like easily seats 3 or 4 times as much. No kidding. And so they're still a very intimate location for bands, but they're not a like every single person eating can accidentally kick over the drum set kind of venue anymore. And so we went to that last night, one, to support El Bodegón because it's their anniversary and that's cool, but also because we have friends in bands playing there last night, and we wanted to go see them play as well. So if you watch my channel, if you've never done this and you're on my channel, like on the web page, there's, you know, you can go to like the home page and the videos and the shorts, and then there's live. And live will take you to, we don't have a ton of them, but I try to do them when I can, where we record live events. We actually stream them. And sometimes I do this where it's just me talking, but sometimes we do it with concerts. And we've done a few, and that seems pretty popular. I mean, we don't get millions of viewers or anything, but you know, it's purely extra. I don't do it instead of the main show, and it lets my viewers connect, you know, at night, whenever we're here, and see something that's actively going on and feel a bit more connected with the show. I'm not normally on it, right? I'm just behind the camera somewhere, but these work out pretty well because we're well known in the community and the bands know us and the venues know us, so no one says a thing. We just set up a tripod, we get right in the middle, we get a good shot, and we're able to actually record pretty well. I'm just recording with my phone normally because that's streaming. It's very hard to do something else. And so you're able to actually watch a show, interact, ask questions. I normally can't respond because I don't have a camera and like you can't type on the screen. You'd have to have another laptop and I'm busy doing other things. But so last night worked out really well. We were able to record essentially the entire concert for them. We missed like the first 30 seconds or so, but that's it. And I think it turned out decently well. So we were doing that, and I brought multiple cameras with me, but photo cameras. So I had my Nikon D3500 DSLR with a low light lens, and I had my Olympus EPL9, also with a very low light lens, and I did quite a bit of photography because we're trying to help out with the band, we're trying to help out with the venue, we're trying to help out with the social media stuff, and like demonstrating how we can use photography to accent other things and how we can use live feeds, like trying to put a lot of things together. So we're doing like samples because almost no one does this stuff. Of course, people have nice cameras, and there were other people because this was a big event. The place was packed as much as it can be, and people were there with cameras and taking a lot of pictures. But traditionally, people just have like either like cell phones or old DSLRs. Like having new stuff is very rare here. It's quite expensive and it's hard to get in many cases. So people are often using used equipment and are a bit behind. So there's just a lot often missing. So a lot of bands don't have people that can go out and do a lot of photography. They'll get it once in a while, but it's not very often. So finding ways to like encourage that, to get more bands coverage, to get it out there so people can see it is important, because I think there's a lot of, you know, when you see bands from like North America, like it's always good photography. There's always people out there with great cameras, very expensive cameras, and think nothing of it and take lots and lots of pictures. And so bands accumulate that stuff, that media. And here, a few bands do that, but lots of them basically never end up with that. So they're very appreciative when we come out and help out. But we also want to show that this is a thing that could make sense. And I want to figure out how we can get more people out doing good photography and good live streaming and good recordings and stuff of events and bands and stuff here, because we want to promote it not just here in Nicaragua, but promote it globally as well. There's a big, huge, vibrant music scene and art scene here that's very unknown. And so I think there's opportunities, even if it's only for Nicaraguan diaspora in other countries, to be like, I miss going out and I can go out in Leon, I can go out in Managua because there's a live stream, because there's photos, I can stay connected and feel connected to everything. So that's what we did last night. Went out for dinner with the gang and went to the Bodegón anniversary and had a really good time. I came straight back after that because I had a day of editing to do, and still, even getting back at 11, I'm still editing at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? It takes me about 5 hours to put together a short episode like I did yesterday. Not all of that is like direct editing. Some of it's like getting the files uploaded, some of it's doing the compression, but those don't tend to be really big amounts of time, maybe an hour of that at most. Most of that is editing, because I've got to put the music in, I've got to change the audio, I've got to put the pieces together, I've got to do the voice. If I have to do a voiceover, that's a big deal. And so that adds Basically, anytime, so let's say I'm going to do a 10-minute voiceover, I have to watch that 10 minutes enough to get it edited. So it's normally at least 20 minutes. And then I have to voice it over, which is a minimum of 10 minutes, could be 30, 40 minutes because maybe I have to do it again or whatever. And then I've got to add the audio to it, which is essentially another 10 minutes. So a 10-minute recording is basically a minimum of an hour of work to put that audio just over top of an existing video footage. So it adds up really quickly when I have to do that stuff, which is why I try to record in a way that allows me to go direct, right? And I'm hoping that the audio is good today. We've had a number of problems with the new media kit, and I don't know if it's this microphone, I don't know if it's the media kit, I don't know if it's the GoPro 11. It's going to take a long time of trying different pieces to figure out what is and isn't working. And I don't have a shipment of stuff coming from the US for a while, so even if I discover what is wrong, it doesn't mean I can do something about it. I am pretty seriously looking at getting a Tascam USB interface to my computer, which will require a couple things because I don't have anywhere to plug in a USB right now. But so I want to get like one of those full desk mics, like big condenser mic that stays on my desk, doesn't travel around, because this is like for moving around, and this big Tascam interface with XLR hookups and go directly into the computer. So I'm not, because right now, if I'm doing a voiceover, I'm either using the Rode Wireless 2 Go, or Go 2, or I'm using the Tascam portable recorder, more likely. And those are both fine. They do a great job, good audio, good flexibility, but the one, I'm on battery and I can't see what I'm recording until it's too late. And the other, I can see that I'm recording, but it's really hard to not get a lot of motion noise and stuff. And I've got to pop out cards, pop them in somewhere. There's a lot of extra steps that really slows me down. And there's a lot of wear and tear on equipment, so it's best if we can avoid that. So that is something that I think will increase the audio quality and dramatically improve my workflow. So I'm hoping to be able to do that very soon. All right, today's real topic is the Fediverse. What is it? Why does it matter? So we talk about a lot of this in technical circles, and I think normal people have, just generally, because this has been around for about 15 years, I may be making up that number, but a good number of years, and I think normal people are very much like, I don't get this, and why is this important? I just don't care. If they've even heard of it, and if not, they're like, what are you talking about, the Fediverse? So the Fediverse refers to a large number of federated social media systems. And so let's talk about what that means. Let's just take an example of something that people mostly know. Twitter. Twitter is about the simplest, or actually today it's not that simple, right? Because so many things, even its name, we don't even know what it's called anymore. Let's talk about Instagram. Instagram is one of the simplest social media experiences. The idea behind Instagram is simple. Post pictures that you've taken, and you can put some of them together, like 4 or 5 in like a little tiny album, which is a post, right? And so if you take a picture of your food, it could be, here's my appetizer, here's my main course, here's another angle of my main course, here's my beer, and here's my dessert. And it's 5 pictures, and they go together, and so you make this tiny album, and you post it, and you can have a description. This is my meal at, and you can tag the restaurant, you can have a hashtag says, you know, steak dinner, whatever, so that people can search on it, people can understand it contextually, they can find the restaurant maybe that you went to, they can figure out where you were, what town, what city, like all these things. You can put in a location and actually have the location stored as part of the picture. And that set of information and that thing like becomes this post, and it's a way to share pictures. And the idea behind Instagram originally was just, this is a way to share pictures. So it was a combination of, hey, I'm a person who has a meal, and this is me eating it, or this is me taking a selfie and I want to share it with you, or I'm a professional photographer and this is my portfolio. And believe it or not, a lot of professional photographers used Instagram as a portfolio, which I think was weird because I don't think it's well organized for that, but okay, like that was what it was for, right? It was for photographs. In time, it became weird. They added video to it, they added instant messaging to it, they added a bunch of things, they tied it in with other things, and now it's a bit more complicated, but the basics are there's this big system and you can go there and post pictures. Well, that is a non-federated model. That is a monolithic social media experience, and nothing wrong with that. And that works really well, and it has a lot of advantages. And it's much simpler to understand. That's the biggest one, which makes it easy to get users. What is the alternative? Well, the alternative is to make a system like Instagram. Let's say we like the Instagram experience, or at least what it was meant to be originally. We'll focus on that and say, okay, I really want a place where I can post pictures. I really want to be able to have some flexibility. I want to be able to do basically the things that Scott just described in this video, but maybe I don't like Instagram as a product. Maybe I don't like Meta as a company. Maybe I don't like just the idea that my data has to be hosted in the United States because that's where that is located. Maybe I don't like that it's a US business. Maybe I don't like that it's a single large company that holds all my data, and if they go out of business, not likely with Meta, but maybe they're going to shut down the product. Quite likely if you're Google. Where does my data go? Where does my pictures go? There's no protection. There's no backup button. Maybe there is some way to back it up. I don't know. But no normal person is backing up their Instagram. They expect you to back up your picture somewhere else and just post to Instagram, but all your social media would disappear. If that's the case, there's just a bunch of reasons why you may not want to be on Instagram itself, but like the idea, like to be able to post pictures and share them with someone, right? And have some control over who you can share them with, which Instagram gives you, so that's fine. So the alternative is either running your own product like Instagram or finding someone who runs one for you, just like Instagram does. But Instagram, we have one choice, Meta. There is no other Instagram. But let's look at a concrete example, but there are more than one. There are many, but one is PixelFed. PixelFed is a software product that basically makes an Instagram. If you want to run your own Instagram, your very own Instagram, you can go get PixelFed and fire it up, run it on a server. It creates a web page. That is more or less Instagram. Not Instagram today, but Instagram basically when it started, with more modern technology than when Instagram started, but without all the weird new features. Not that they're weird or bad, but Instagram has sprawled in ways that it was not intended. And so a lot of people don't see Instagram as having a continuity of service. It is a different product today than what you started with. And so for people like me who started with it for photographs and now it's not really for photographs, it's kind of like, well, what is the point of this? I don't even know why I'm on it, right? Now it's just an instant messaging platform, which I already have other things of, so I want to get off of it, right? I do like that it's easy to kind of find people to talk to, but it's stupid that it was a photo sharing site. Now it's all about these stories and it's all about videos and these short videos that are just TikTok from a few weeks ago, and it's just weirder and weirder and weirder. So a lot of us are, if nothing else, confused about Instagram. So you could go to PixelFed and run your own server, or find someone who has one, right? There's lots of public PixelFed servers out there that you can choose from. And by choosing, you can do some cool things. Imagine if you were choosing your Instagram. You can't, but imagine if you could, right? Oh, I want an Instagram from Brazil, and I want it to be in Portuguese. Okay, cool. Now, of course, you can use Instagram in Brazil and you may use it in Portuguese, but you're mixed in with all the people who are English and in the United States, for example, and it's unclear how to differentiate one from another because you're all in one big system, one big pool. So if you had a dedicated PixelFed server for Brazil, and spoiler, there is, you could join that and post pictures, and all the people that are on your Instagram system, on your PixelFed, are assumed to be in Brazil. They don't necessarily lock it down, I doubt that they do, to actually people in Brazil. How do you check? But they intend it. This is the context. It's people who want to appear to be in Brazil, not sneakily, just in that context, right? I want to speak Portuguese. I want to post in Portuguese. I want to talk about Brazil things and post about Brazil, right? If you start posting other things, people are going to be like, why are you here, right? So you have that. And then you could be like, my data is stored in Brazil. Everything's under Brazilian law. Everything is an independent company. There is no U.S. company getting my data. There's no U.S. company owning the domain name. There's no U.S. whatever. The government's not involved. Like, you're just in your own country, but you get that experience like Instagram used to be. So that's interesting and powerful. Now, of course, Brazil can run one as a country. You could also run one as a Sony camera lovers community, right? You could go out and get sonycamera.social and run your own server there, and it's just for people. You could moderate, right? This is only for photos, only taken with digital Sony cameras, as if there's analog. Those are called Minolta. And you're here to post pictures, and every post must be tagged with which camera and which lens you're using, right? Like, you could do that and have this dedicated community and provide, unlimited storage if you want, or super limited storage. You could host it in the US, out of the US. You could do any number of things. You could invite only your friends. You could make it open to the public. You could make it that it's only you. There are servers out there, very rare, but they exist, where it's just one person. Someone doesn't want to join a system with someone else, but they want like the Instagram kind of experience. So they make a one user system, and they may make the pictures open to the public, but you can't join. Or they keep them private. It's just their way of storing pictures because they like how it stores pictures. You have all that flexibility. That's how PixelFed works, and its alternatives, right? Other Instagram-like photo systems within the Fediverse. But that's only the first piece. That wouldn't be anything about federation. That's just independent servers. That's just you can rule your own. And that's cool and that's interesting, but that's very limiting because the power of an Instagram or Twitter or Facebook is that you have bazillions of users, right? And you can connect with anybody, anywhere, anytime, and all communicate. So when you go into Instagram, someone else says, I have an Instagram account, you know you can talk to them if they let you, right? They may block you, but you can find them and you know where they are. It isn't like this big confusing, well, okay, but I'm not on your server, so how do I talk to you? So the power in the Fediverse is that these servers are federated. And what that means is that the users on one server can talk to the users on another server. And this may sound crazy, this may sound advanced, this may sound like something you would never think of doing, but we have a great example of how this works in the real world, and that is email. We're actually used to using federated systems every day. Google runs an email system, Microsoft runs an email system. I can go run my own personal email system, and I have in the past. That's something I've done quite a lot of, actually. 20 years ago, I was an email administrator. I'm still an email administrator, but not for my own, it's for big companies. But when you have your own server, you have all these users, say 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 users on a single email system, but they're able to email people on any email system anywhere in the world because the email systems talk to each other. Not only can the users on one system talk to each other, but they can talk to people, and they use this @ designation. If you didn't have to talk to other servers, you wouldn't need that @ in an email address. That @ is telling the universe which server the person exists to talk to. So I'm Scott. You want to email me at my company, right? I work for NTG. So if you wanted to email me, everyone knows my email address. This isn't the secret. I'm not giving away the secrets of the universe here. I'm Scott at ntg.co. Please don't email me anything about travel or tourism. That is my work address. Only email me there if you actually want to hire an IT consulting firm. But so that tells any system that you're on, let's say you're on Google Mail, Gmail, and when you say, I want to email Scott at ntg.co, it says, okay, I'm not ntg.co, so you don't want to send it to Scott at Gmail. That's some other person that I don't know. I need to go talk to the server at ntg.co and tell them I have a message for Scott. And once I tell them, then it's not my business, right? They send that email to ntg.co server. ntg.co server, which is, for us is on Zoho, again, no secret, says, we have a Scott here, and this is him. There's only one Scott at ntg.co. So that server has one Scott, that's me, and it gives me the email address. If I need to respond to someone on Gmail, same thing. I say, send a message to john@gmail.com, and it says, I'm not Gmail, so it's got to go somewhere. So it looks up where Gmail is, sends it over to that server, and says, hey, Gmail, I got a message for a John. If you've got a John, this is for him. And they go, we do. We'll give it to him. Right? That's how it works. So you can have any number of these servers and they handle the communications after the @. Well, the Fediverse basically just takes that email model and applies it to other things. In the case of the example we're using, it applies it to an Instagram experience. So if you have an account at, I don't even know the name of a popular one. I really should have looked it up before I did, but the PixelFed server in Brazil, we'll just call it PixelFed Brazil. It's probably like Brazil.social or something like that. And because everybody uses .social, it's just the popular thing for a lot of federated services because they're social and there's this new social domain, and why not? And so you say, I'm doing my normal Instagram-y kind of stuff. I've got pictures, but my buddy is in this picture with me. Now I live in Canada, so I'm on this Canadian Instagram-like server from PixelFed, and it doesn't have to be PixelFed, right? It can be different products. And you can say, okay, so I'm in this picture, but my buddy, John, from Brazil is in this picture too, and he uses this Brazilian PixelFed. Well, I can simply say, hey, I'm going to tag this guy at John at Brazil.social, and the server that you're on in Canada will reach out the same way the email does, find the server in Brazil and say, hey, I got a tag for one of your users, let him know he's been tagged in my thing, and they'll link up. And so when John gets that tag alert, he can be like, there's a post, I want to follow that guy. They can follow between servers, they'll show up in each other's feed, and so it takes this world of independent servers and federates them so that the users on one system are able to interact with users on another system even if they're using different types of software in order to communicate and to share things like hashtags and follows and updates and that kind of stuff. And that's really powerful and interesting because it means that maybe you have two people who both like Instagram, or as it used to be, and one is in Brazil and is like, yeah, Pixel Fed, that's what I like. And one in Canada is like, okay, I like all that, but Pixel Fed doesn't do it for me. I like this other product that doesn't look like Instagram, but it still posts pictures and has updates and stuff. And they're able to talk to each other, and they can choose the experience they want based on many factors, including the software. So that's really cool. And that plays a really big role, I think, in the future of these types of products, because we learned from email, right? Email, it took a while, but it took over from bulletin board systems. For those who are old enough, we had, before email, you didn't have to put that at after things. You just had a username, and they had to be on your server with you. And so you would dial into a single server and be like, I have a message for John. And it doesn't say John at where, it's just John. And there's one John. If he logs in, he can get the message. That's it. Right? It was a super basic system, and that's how Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, that's how they all work today. The Fediverse takes it to the level like email. It modernizes the social media experience and says you don't need to any longer all agree to be on a single service. We can do this standardized directory system between users all over the world and combine them already. We already have the technology to do this. We've been doing it for a long time. We can take the experience you're getting from an Instagram, the experience you're getting from a Twitter or an X, or I like to call it the X Messenger, the thing that used to be your messenger. All those, and we can make it available to each other in this amazing modern way today and let you choose what experiences make sense for you. And what's really neat is that this goes slightly beyond these types of social media. Like I said, email actually led the charge in this, and just nobody talks about it, right? Partially because very few people understand email, and very few people who are doing like the social media stuff are thinking about email. Like, that's just some old, not that they don't use email, but it's like this completely unrelated technology, but it's not. Email was like the original social media. And what people then, and typically people who are doing like social media, or people who have like this engineering skill or whatever, don't cross paths with like email engineers to realize they're using the same model. I'm sure some of the designers do, but people who are just generally implementing these systems are completely oblivious to it. And then it turns out that modern telephony, and by modern I mean from the 1990s, but that the world updated in the 1990s for phones, we actually have this exact same model for telephone calls. Almost no one enables it. Almost no one thinks of using it, but it exists and it works, and it's like identical. You use something that looks like an email address, and you can use it to make calls using traditional phone systems anywhere in the world. And they do the same thing. They look up the server, they go directly to the server, they make the call, and it doesn't go through the FCC. It doesn't cost a penny for a call. It just uses the internet. It's just like email, but a telephone call. It's amazing. But then that's an old technology from the 90s, but it works really well, and it's just there, and we all have it. But then there's another new technology called Matrix that works kind of like that, but handles real-time instant messaging and voice calls and video chat and a bunch of other things. And it does so in real time, whereas email was meant to be stored and forwarded. Like, oh, I'm going to email someone, but they may not get it for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. It's not real time. Might be fast, but it's not real time. The social media experience is also not meant to be real time. It may be fast, right? We may be looking at a minute, 10 seconds, but it's not the same as a live conversation where you can't have a single packet go awry. It's still delayed. So it's a different technology. Well, Matrix and the VoIP technology that I was mentioning, they handle real-time communications in this federated way. So you can have a instant messaging platform or a unified communications platform, as we think of it, that has voice and video and desktop sharing and all this different stuff in real time, like beautiful, great audio quality, really fast chats, all kinds of stuff that happens as it, like, so fast. And it uses the same model where you can be on one server, the person you're talking to can be on another server, and it'll communicate between them and connect you, so you don't have to all be on the same system. You could be at home using a personal system, like a Gmail kind of thing, but for a Matrix technology, matrix.org, I believe, and they could be at work and using their company system, and you're able to connect because they talk to each other. You've got that at in there, and that is amazing that they're making this type of federated technology for absolutely everything. And in places like the US, this may sound like, well, who cares? How important is this? Because the United States is culturally, tends to lead on the technology side, So things like Instagram and Twitter started there, and they get a lot of traction, and it makes it much less attractive to move to something federated or decentralized because there's such an entrenched usage of these original technologies that kind of were proof of concepts. In the rest of the world, we tend to trail. It tends to be like, okay, the US did this. They proved that like Instagram is a useful thing. People want to post pictures of their dogs and memes and food. Okay, all right, cool. We got that. So, but we don't want to do it in the American centralized way, just like the US did, old-fashioned telephones where everything goes to the FCC and the government can record everything. And that's not some like conspiracy theory. There's no way they can't. Like, it's so simple. All calls have to transfer through in open audio. It's so trivial to record all the calls, like you can't even believe. And so that centralization is a point of failure. Like, if something goes wrong, and it has in the past, all calls stop working for however long it takes to fix it. So in the rest of the world, things like WhatsApp, which is still centralized, but more modern, have taken root because they didn't have the phones when the US had phones when you had to do stuff that way. Other places got them later and had more options. They had more time to look at alternatives. They had less entrenched systems and vendors to be like, no, we're not letting you change. We're going to pay off some politicians to keep it from. We don't have that, right? Everyone's like, yeah, let's just modernize. There's because it's not our systems. So in the U.S., you've got Facebook and Twitter. They're pressuring the government, discourage decentralization, and they go, well, yeah, there's no money in decentralization. There's a lot of money in Meta and X, in paying off politicians or whatever. I don't know that they do that, but you all know they do, right? That's how the U.S. functions is bribing politicians, and literally that's how everything works, right? They're called lobbyists, and their job is to cajole and pay politicians to do things against the interest of the American public. It is an entire career that makes very lucrative amounts of money, and their only job is to screw over the American public by moving massive amounts of funds into the pockets of politicians to look the other way. So while that system may exist in other countries, it's generally illegal. It's called corruption. It's called bribery. And it is considered, you can't do that in a democratic system. It is fundamentally anti-democratic. So most countries don't allow that crap. It may happen, but it's illegal and people can go to jail for it instead of it being the official way that politicians make most of their money. And because of that, these big American businesses don't have the strong arm to come in and say, no, discourage these things, say it doesn't work, make people really think require by law that you have these other things, right? A lot of those technologies, not Facebook obviously, but like telephones, there's things that you may have to do with the government, and they require you to have a legacy phone number that they control, and there's nothing you can do about it. But other countries don't have that. You can just go use the phone however you want to do. Unless you're in Qatar, then it's even worse than the US. And so in countries like Nicaragua, there's a very strong desire, even if people aren't sure what it is that they want to do, to have these decentralized federated systems, because it provides a security, because it provides flexibility, because it gives a identity, like this is Nicaragua in this case, or Brazil. In the example I used, it allows you to have this is for people in my country, right? Because Twitter was really for people in the United States, and then other people use it. Of course, other people are welcome, and I'm not suggesting they're not. Being federated means that places like Nicaragua can have their very own ecosystems. They can have their own policies. They can have performance based on systems being in the country. They can know that moderation is going to be based around what is their needs. For example, in the United States, on Twitter, it is common for the platform to be full of political discourse, but you could make a server in another area that says you can't discuss politics there, take it somewhere else, so that you have a politics-free zone, for example, or any topic, right? We're not going to discuss celebrities on this platform. If you do, well, you need to go somewhere else. But people on this platform, if they want to go see political discourse, they want to go see celebrities, they can simply connect to another instance. It's actually a system for both allowing for a greater flexibility of moderation. It gives individual servers or locations or whatever the power to decide on how they're going to moderate, but it also gives individuals the power to know that they cannot have their voice restricted because of a moderator. If they're in a position where they want to say something that their platform will not allow them to, they can simply go to another platform. If there is no platform that will allow them to say the things that they want to say, they can create their own platform for free, if that's what they want to do, and continue with that conversation. And they can make a platform that is just for them, or one for them and their friends, or one that's open to the public, whatever. There are so many options. Federation gives you a great deal of flexibility and protection in both directions. The power to moderate and censor when that's what you want, and the power to be protected from the ability to be moderated or censored when you don't want to be. It gives that power to the end user, and that's something that other platforms, Twitter, Facebook, they can't do that. If they choose to moderate, which they often do, they're stuck. They have to moderate in an even way, or attempt to, for everyone. And if you don't like that moderation, there's literally nothing you can do about it. If you are displeased with the fact that it is open and the entire place is talking about celebrities and political discourse, and there's no just talking about food or cameras or whatever it is that you're interested in, there's nothing you can do about it. The platform is going to do what it's going to do. There's also the freedom from the algorithms. We all hear about the algorithms, and they're not that big of a deal, but when you're on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, everything is driven and shown to you based on some computer learning that says this is what's going to make you interact. This is what's going to make the platform money, so this is what we're going to show to you. And while you have some control over what you see, you have only so much, and it can change over time. But on a federated platform, again, you can choose a platform that has algorithms like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or you can choose ones that have none, and you simply select what you want to see, follow who you want to follow, and that is it. You have so many more options. All the things that people hate about social media, except for social media itself, which really is like saying you just don't like people, doesn't exist in the federated world, because you can get around it. Just like with email, I don't want to talk to this person, I can block them. I do want to talk to this person that no one else wants to talk to, I can whitelist them. You have that power. Federation is an amazing tool, and it is where the future has to be headed. And it's great that it's over so many different platforms, from voice calls to screen sharing to your social media updates to your email. Everything's moving to this decentralized, federated model that's going to give a lot of power to smaller countries to not be beholden to larger ones. And not because that's bad, not because the US wants to control everything through Twitter, not because, there's like this huge, it's just the policies, the logistics of everything that makes sense for the United States does not necessarily make sense here. And the US wants to be able to have things that make sense for Americans. They don't want to have to modify for a Nicaragua, for a Bangladesh, but Nicaragua or Bangladesh don't want to modify or do everything just because it's what makes sense in America. Having those different flexibilities is amazing. And so that is why the Fediverse concept is hard to grasp, confusing, and super important. This is a way for places like Nicaragua to have the ecosystems, the digital ecosystems, the online presences that make sense for them, to allow them to operate in a similar way to that in which the US operates. In the US, we simply assume that those things exist. In other countries, they just simply assume they either don't exist or that they're basically American things, or Chinese things in other cases, and they don't get to have those similar types of things if they want to participate with other people. And if they want to do it themselves, they often don't have the technical know-how to do so, or the funding to do so. So this is a unique opportunity that Nicaragua is now in, to be one of a handful of countries that actually has national-based infrastructure for some of this social media. That they have this Fediverse things means that they can have their own national infrastructure, but they are also participating in the world. So it has both the benefits of a Twitter or an Instagram and the benefits of the Fediverse. They come together. It's really the best of all things. And if you have not checked out the Fediverse, if it's not something that you've been interested in, something you've been involved in, it's something worth looking into. And of course you are involved in it in an email way. Everyone has email, right? But if you're looking at it from a perspective of social media, it's a thing where a lot of people have not investigated yet. And if you're in the United States, a really great example is mastodon.social or pixelfed.social. Both of them, one is like Twitter and one is like Instagram. They're both American-based. They're both giant servers with loads of people. They're both the core of their little corner of the Fediverse, but both allow you to operate on your own server and allow you to connect to people on all the other servers. So if you want to connect to people who are in Nicaragua, but in general you're not, it's just once in a while. It's like you don't really have any connection to Nicaragua. You're not going to go out and get on, say, Nicagram, because you don't have pictures of Nicaragua. You're not going out in Nicaragua, but you're going to visit Nicaragua, or you have a friend in Nicaragua. Well, you can be on, for example, pixelfed.social. I'll put some links down below so you guys can find these American servers if that's what you're interested in. And you can say, okay, so I'm on pixelfed.social and I'm posting my pictures like I would with Instagram, but the old way. But I want to hang out with Scott, right? You want to connect with me? Well, you can. I'm at Scott Allen Miller at nicagram.com. Just put that into any instance in the United States or wherever you are, Brazil, Europe, whatever, and it will connect to me and allow you to follow me from Nicagram, even though I'm not on your server and you're not on my server. We're able to connect. That's the power of the Fediverse. So it's more about becoming a member of the Fediverse. It's more about participating in a modernized social media infrastructure than it is about joining specifically Nicaraguan pieces of that infrastructure. But of course, if you're going to live here, or you're going to be living here a part of the year, you're going to be expatting here, digital nomading here, you're just really interested in Nicaragua, you're a Nicaraguan diaspora or a child of Nicaraguan descent living around in the world, maybe you want to have more of a connection to your home country, to your adopted country, whatever. This is a way that you can do that and participate. You're not giving up your access to things in the United States. If you want to follow people who are on mastodon.social in the US, of course you can. You simply put in their username at mastodon.social and boom, you're able to connect to them even though you're on the system in Nicaragua. The power is awesome. And it's just about finding the balance that makes sense for you. More services will be coming in the future as these things start to become more and more popular, as they mature, and as Nicaragua starts to adopt these things because they're now available to it. So yeah, I hope that helps explain a little bit about why we find this to be really important and interesting, and why we don't have to have a lot of users on our systems here in Nicaragua for them to still make sense, because they still connect to the world. Even if you only have 2 users, it doesn't matter. You're still connected to everyone else and everyone can connect to you. But we're also seeing that automated systems, that's one of the great things about all those platforms, right? Instagram, not so much, but to some degree, but Twitter especially, is famous for being automated through APIs, so that if you had, for example, an earthquake alerting service, it can automatically post into Twitter, and you can find that information without having to hunt to different places. So I don't know where to go to find that. But I can follow this Twitter feed. That makes sense. Well, we're going to be able to, I hope, have a Twitter-like feed with Nicaloro, the Mastodon service here in Nicaragua, from an earthquake service that only is reporting earthquakes in Nicaragua, so that people can simply follow that and have a spot to discuss, right? You have something that notifies that an earthquake has happened, says where it happened, says how strong it is, and people can directly respond to that event and have a conversation around, did you feel it in Chinandega? Did you feel it in Esteli? Did you feel it in Managua? And have those conversations in that spot really easily. That's a power that's missing today. You have to wait for somebody to post it and hope you can find it and hope they know which hashtags to use and hope you know which hashtags to search on. And is it going to be in Spanish? Is it going to be in English? Is it going to be from this server? It's really confusing the way that it is today because it's too big. There's nothing focused on Nicaragua. So some of those services like automated alerts, automated notifications, event notifications going into these systems automatically, so people can just say, I didn't look at the website or the venue thing, but I was just on, Nicaloro, and it scrolled by. I saw that there's a concert tonight. I saw that there's a restaurant is closed tonight because they are out of power, or they ran out of fish, or whatever. Or there's this cool thing that just popped up. There's a pop-up pizza restaurant around the corner. It's only there for 4 hours. I got alerted because I have instant notifications rather than having to look for a picture on Instagram that may or may not come up the same day. It's hard. So those kinds of things hopefully will be really cool here. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe if you'd like to help support this channel. You can buy me a coffee at the link above, buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. If you're looking for direct assistance in moving to Nicaragua or coming to visit, you want tours, long-term tours, or consulting time on the phone, shoot us an email, info@relocatenicaragua.com. As always, share on social media, tell your friends, sign up for Nicaloro, sign up for Nicagram, take a look at Nicarumba and see what events are going on in this area or others, and I will see all of you tomorrow.